In today's Hindu newspaper, we come across a newspaper article wherein it is stated four senior political leaders, including two ministers of West Bengal's Trinamool Congress government and a party MLA, were arrested by the CBI in the Narada Sting operation case and will remain in judicial custody till Wednesday. Here, if we see arrest, it can be treated as social action, which is work rational social action under Max Weber's classification, because this social action, which is arrest, has both means and ends, and both means and ends are rational. What is means? It is arresting. Arresting, that means coercing upon the society. What is end? That end is restoring social order in the society, which is necessary because lack of social order, anarchy in the society leads to social conflict because of loss of faith of the ruled by the ruling. Hence, social order needs to be maintained to avoid conflict in the society. That's why that end can be treated as rational. As both means and ends are rational here, this can be treated as a social action and as work rational social action under Max Weber's classification. Here again, CBI action is a declaration of war, quotes Sinha. Here, action, if action is seen, Sinha opines it is declaration of war against state by the central government. That means he opines that the central government is exploiting state government. If we see state government and central government as two distinct classes, uh, central government has more power vis-a-vis state power, which is why Sinha feels the central government as have class and state government as have not class, and hence central government is exploiting state government. According to Karl Marx, this leads to social conflict because there are two distinct classes, haves and have-nots, and there is hierarchy, a social stratification among these classes, and one class, upper class, is exploiting lower class. Though it is not an industrial setup, we can attribute that Karl Marx thinking to this setup, and see there is a chance of conflict as Karl Marx opines, and then that conflict, as Simha directly says, it is a declaration of war. So to avoid this conflict, what Emile Durkheim suggested is we need to look upon institutional measures within the society to avoid social conflict. What are those institutional measures? Here conflict is not essentially due to financial exploitation, that is economic exploitation, but it is due to other reasons like having more legislative powers to central government vis-a-vis state government, having more administrative machinery with central government vis-a-vis state government, that is CBI. The central government akin to more impunity vis-a-vis state government. Hence, the reasons for this exploitation are not economical. As the reasons are not economical, solutions must also be not economical and must be legislative and administrative to address the conflict. If we think in lines of Emile Durkheim, to avoid the conflict. Hence, what legislative solutions can be thought upon? Central government went into impunity because of having more powers vis-a-vis state government. That means central government powers under items under central list are more. So to address this situation, this disparity must be addressed. State list must be brought on par with central government with respect to legislative powers. And coming to administrative machinery, CBI is under central government, and it heeds to the central government's whims and fancies. So to address this, in respect of administrative machinery, CBI must be brought equally answerable and accountable to state governments also, because after all it is states in which CBI is operating. And CBI institutions must be strengthened. CBI must be made independent with the without the political influence of central government. These institutional measures, uh, for instance, can be taken to avoid conflict between central and state governments if we perceive them as two distinct social classes, as looked upon by Karl Marx. In the next article, it is given job losses bode ill for the economy. Rising unemployment, including among the salaried class, and shrinking real incomes. This leads to a situation where equality of opportunity is denied. The society is being divided into those affected by the COVID-19 and those unaffected by the COVID-19. Those affected by the COVID-19 are uh, um, affected with COVID-19 are subjected to economic classes and are losing jobs, including salaried class. And those unaffected with the COVID-19 are continuing their lives with minimal effect from the disease and on par privileged compared to the affected class. Hence, the COVID-19 pandemic is dividing society into two distinct classes, that is affected and unaffected, and equality of opportunity is being denied to affected. As Durkheim opined, denial of equality opportunity forces individual to undergo forced division of labor. That means whether he is not working or when he is interested to work, or whether he is working which is not in his interest, in either of the situations it leads to forced division of labor. And as Durkheim suggested, forced division of labor leads to conflict in the society. Hence this situation must be addressed again through institutional measures. As here that exploitation or that division is due to financial reasons, financial solutions must be thought upon in institutional measures. What institutional measures can be taken in financial sphere for the unemployed? Incentives can be given, universal basic income can be thought upon, free incentives like free food grains to serve the basic needs of livelihood can be thought upon, and food coupons can be given. Other incentives like subsidies can be given in food products to those unemployed, and other institutional measures like setting up unemployment institute, something like unemployment institute to address the demands of unemployed, address the demands of those who lost employment at least, can be thought upon. And those financial measures which we discussed, like giving food coupons or giving free food grains to the unemployed or those who lost employment, or giving financial incentives or universal basic income, also helps not only helps society in avoiding social conflict, but also helps economy in rising the rural demand. Here it says RBI officials flag demand shock from second wave. Also in rising the demand, it helps economy. Such measures also help economy. This situation also can lead to anomaly of injustice, where there is no social control and there is forced division of labor. When there is no social control, according to Emile Durkheim's theory, it leads to anomaly. Social integration becomes minimal and social regulation becomes minimal. The individual can be subjected to lesser integration and lesser regulation. So he may commit acts like suicide, as Emile Durkheim opined. And this lack of social control also leads to anomic division of labor, as Karl Marx suggested. Hence, in all such ways, institutional measures, are, as Emile Durkheim suggested, are necessary. In the next article, it is unwarranted arrest. As the action is unwarranted, it suggests that Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar, in Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar case, Supreme Court already opined that unwarranted arrest, don't go for unwarranted arrest. It directed police to not to go for unwarranted arrest. This arrest is unwarranted because it is based on the premise that an individual is showing his disaffection towards the government. Now, when the government can be seen as a class, the ruling is seen as a class, and the ruled is seen as another class. There is a disparity. These are two distinct classes, and the individual feels that he is being subjected to exploitation by the government, that is ruling class. Hence, here hierarchy is there. Two distinct classes are there. Exploitation by the ruling is there on the ruled, and to address and this may lead to conflict. To provide solutions to the conflict, some institutional measures are required. That and those institutional measures can be right to protest, giving venting out, giving leeway to vent out such disaffection. That's why freedom of speech becomes crucial in such aspects. But here government is criminalizing the disaffection and charging seditious charges again upon the individual. This goes against the principle of, this goes against, and this is retrograde because it does not provide way forward to come across solution in addressing this disaffection, but it is retrogressive. It further widens the gap between ruling and the ruled. That's why this unwarranted arrest becomes retrograde in its effect. Also, Section 124A of APC, which is seditious charges, this sedition provision is not in line with the organic solidarity, as Imail Durkheim divided society into two types, wherein in primitive communities there is mechanical solidarity, whereas where there is collective consciousness and low volume of population, low mechanical solidarity, and low moral solidarity. In such societies, these repressive laws can be applied because something known as disaffection or something known as sedition shocks the collective consciousness of the society. So to check that shock to the collective consciousness, individual must understood that if he crosses line, that collective consciousness hits back upon him. That's why in such societies, repressive laws are justified. But in modern societies, in postmodern societies, where there is organic solidarity, where individualism comes upon forefront than collective consciousness, where there is more volume of population, here social cohesion is built upon dependence upon one another, and difference from one to another. Hence, this repressive law, which is Section 124 IPC, which aims to inflict harm to the individual, is repressive and not akin to these postmodern societies. In postmodern societies, to work upon social cohesion, organic solidarity must be built, and further, and to build that organic solidarity, status quo must be maintained. That means an individual, before developing disaffection upon the state, what opinion he might have weighed in, that opinion must be brought back. That means institutional measures. Here again, Imelda Durkheim comes into picture to avoid conflict. Institutional measures must be looked upon. That is, social faith on the government must be built. Uh, some institutional mechanism to address the grievances of the individuals can be looked upon. Like there is a Spandana portal in Andhra Pradesh. It addresses grievances of the individual. Such institutional measures must be looked upon rather than going for charging individuals with seditious charges. This is a retrogressive step than rather than restitutive step, and that's why Supreme Court also opined here that that's why this other editor also opined here that it is more protective of free speech if the center abolished the provision. The section 124 of APC must be abolished for that reason. It is not akin to current society. In the next article, we see GST Council avoiding breakdown and GST Council. GST Council is basically an institutional measure to address conflict between central government and state government. If you perceive those central government and state government as two distinct social classes, because central government is collecting more taxes and taking majority share of taxes vis-a-vis state government. Here, state governments are apparently being exploited by the central government. Hence, to address this exploitation, institutional measures must be sought upon, as Imal Durkheim suggested, and such institutional measure is GST Council. In the absence of such institutional measures, in the absence of sharing of revenues from center to state, that means financial incentive from center to state, a conflict develops, and because of widening gap between two distinct classes, and breakdown is inevitable. So GST Council meeting in this setup is definitely avoiding breakdown. And see here, tax experts believe solutions are possible to reduce the GST burden. The central had dropped the GST on sanitary napkins. This is again one such institutional measure providing financial incentive in bringing central share of taxes on par with states revenue. In the next article, we see prioritizing the right to life, a monthly cash transfer to informal workers. We have discussed the situation already in the second article. Here, financial incentives are necessary to address the situation to avoid social conflict, as Imal Durkheim opined. And one such financial measures is this monthly cash transfer to informal workers. Here, health emergency is something external to the society, and it is causing social change. That is, it is leading many individuals to loss of jobs. Informal workers and organized workers, salaried workers, all are losing jobs. All are undergoing social change, and the reason for that social change is not essentially economical, but is health emergency. Hence, Karl Marx criticism is valid here. Criticism against Karl Marx is valid here. Not every social change is due to economic reasons, but some social changes are also due to reasons which are external to economy. Free rations without insisting of on ID proof to all migrant workers and run kitchens providing free meals twice a day. These are again institutional measures, financial incentives to the depressed to pacify the exploited class. Being vaccinated against COVID-19. This is again another topic. Being vaccinated against COVID-19 is essential for defending one's right to life, and since the state must respect everyone's right to life, it must make the vaccine equally available to all, irrespective of the recipient's capacity to pay. If the states are allowing individuals to go for vaccination based on their pay, it is again dividing individuals into two distinct classes, or those that are able to pay and those that are unable to pay. Hence, those that are unable to pay are devoid of equality of opportunity. This again divides society into two and breeds conflict. This lack of equality of opportunity breeds conflict, according to Emile Durkheim. Hence, to address that conflict, some institutional measure is necessary. That means providing financial incentive or subsidizing vaccines for the poor, or those who cannot afford it, or those who lost jobs, or those who are earning lesser incomes compared to pre-COVID-19 times. As such financial incentive or such institutional measure is necessary to address conflict again here. But going by the administrative capacity, working upon who is eligible for subsidy and who is not eligible for subsidy is cumbersome. It is always suggestive, or it is always appreciative to go for a blanket waiver on vaccination fee, and that is what opened here. This can be accomplished only if vaccination is free in such situations, in to address immediate conflict. Long-term conflict, and this inequality of opportunity also leads to long-term also breeds long-term conflict in lack of access to education, lack of access to better health. Uh, these um, these long-term conflict can be addressed through non-financial measures like making education free to all, making health free to all, decentralizing education, and penetrating educational and health facilities to grassroots level. These are again non-financial institutional measures, as the reasons for such a disparity or a class division is non-financial, non-economic. But here, to address immediate conflict, as the reason is economic, it is suggested to go for economic institutional measure, that is pre-vaccination. Here again, significant fiscal package, another institutional measure. Here, taxation is suggested. This is in relation to industrial setup. In industrial setup, to avoid conflict, what Imal Durkheim suggested is institutional measures such as incentives and shareholding in the company. Shareholding in the company motivates individual to work more effectively, and gives a sense of feeling that he is working for his own prosperity. And taxation is also similar to that. It is nothing but sharing wealth of the haves to have nots. Hence, have nots get a feeling that they are getting better returns, better incomes for their work, for their existence. Going to the next article. Regarding TRIPS waiver, here it is mentioned, while issuing compulsory license for COVID-19 vaccines in the absence of technology transfer is easier said than done. Why it is easier said than done is, in the mode of production, in Karl Marx mode of production, there are two divisions. One is forces of production, and the other one is relations of production. In force of production, again, there are means of production and labor power. Only if these means of production are tools, technological know-how, high-tech equipment, all come under means of production, and trained personnel come under labor power. These two constitute forces of production. Here, we are demanding only for more productive capacity to compulsory license to other in the other companies means more productive capacity, nothing but more. So that does not, that is not sufficient, that is only that, merely that is not sufficient to improve production, because under mode of production there are other factors such as technology transfer, trained personnel, technological know-how, high-tech equipment. Hence this, mere compulsory licenses does not yield well in current situation. and and that's why it is easier said than done. They can be used to augment the supply of drugs and other therapeutics. This can be done because to augment the supply of drugs and other therapeutics, we already have related means of production. That is, we have connectivity, we have roads, we have vehicles, we have all the necessary machinery to augment supply. That can be done because all the factors related to mode of production are available to with us already. Here again, the affidavit states that the main constraint in boosting the production of drugs like remdesivir is the unavailability of raw materials and essential inputs, as we discussed earlier. This corroborates that discussion. In the next article, no learning from the Spanish flu. Here, the people felt so bad about the quarantine and social distancing measures that when they were first lifted, the people joined the streets with abandon. Here the people going back to the pre-COVID times after the first wave can be described as a social action, and this social action is work rational social action because mean is there, means are there. That is, they felt bored, they felt so bad about the quarantine, and that mean is rational. It has reason for that mean, and it has no end because end is going into the society and breaking all the COVID appropriate behavior. This end cannot have any reason, and as means have ration and means are rational and ends are not rational, it comes under work rational social action under Max Weber's classification of social actions. And next, this shows that we haven't been able to learn from history to prevent millions of infections and deaths worldwide. One would believe that knowledge makes one wiser, but in reality, knowledge doesn't change behavior. Knowing about the Spanish flu is very different from having to live through a similar pandemic. Knowing about masks being protective doesn't make people wear them. Knowing about social distancing doesn't make people practice it. What Max Weber opined is uh, actually, according to Max Weber's theory, people must wear masks and people must follow COVID appropriate behavior as their goal is to avoid disease, and as their means must follow that goal. Means have logic. If they wear masks and if they follow COVID appropriate behavior, they can avoid a disease. They can suppress pandemic. Hence, means have reason and logic. And also that is to stay healthy. Also, it has reason and logic. Both means and ends have reasons and logic. Hence, this social action ideally must come under work rational social action according to Max Weber. But as people are not following those COVID appropriate guidelines and people are not wearing masks, this comes under criticism to Max Weber. That is, Theodore Obel criticized that not all social actions follow rational means and rational goals. People also attach emotions and their individual subjectivity to their actions and goals. Here, this is exactly what people did. They attached individual emotions and individual subjectivity. They got bored out of lockdown. They got bored out of quarantine. Hence, they broke all the COVID appropriate social norms and like not wearing masks, etc. If Max Weber was right, people must have followed this COVID appropriate behavior. Hence, this satisfies one of the criticisms given by Theodore Obel to Max Weber against Max Weber's theory. This is what stated here. Here again, in distinguishing, leaders were often seen addressing crowds and conducting meetings without masks. Every politician wants to win over people and give them what they want. In this case, freedom from lockdowns. Max Weber also distinguished politics from science. Why politics? Why scientists cannot take over politics is scientists look upon social facts but not social values. They see what is in front of them. They follow statistics, and in regard to the statistics, in line with the statistics, they suggest social actions. what statistics they have, that is as cases are rising, as lockdowns would help cases to suppress. Scientists before second wave, or when second wave is rising, all the scientists and all AIMS directors, all the doctors suggested government to go for lockdown again, national wide lockdown again. But why politics did not heed to that suggestion is, scientists just look upon social facts. They did not they do not attach value to the decisions. But that attaching value to the decisions is what done by politicians. They compare facts and values, and by analyzing both the social facts and social values, they take decisions, as Max Weber suggested. Here, what value politics attributed to their actions is freedom from lockdown. People want freedom from lockdown, and the politicians attributed that some value to that freedom and did not go for nationwide lockdown. That's all for today. Thank you.